Michael Zuber, author of One Rental at a Time. And if you don't know already, we do a financial news show live. Yes, we are live every day, 7 days a week at 7:30. So if you like to get your financial information in a kind of 10 to 12 minute snippets, you will know that it's going on about 7:30 every day. Typically on Thursdays, I will let you know we have to do it at 7 a.m. because one of our multimillionaire experts from the week, which we interview Monday through Friday, needs to do it at that time. So we do 7:30 at least 6 days a week, with that one exception being Thursday. Next thing to talk about is January is already behind us. Yes, it feels like 2021 just got here, and month one of 12 is over. So if you're watching my channel, and certainly if you're one of my students, I want to hear from you. What are you doing to get ready for 2021? I'm hearing already and have shared with you that the real estate market is changing. It all starts with inventory. It starts as a trickle. Stuff comes out admittedly overpriced, but who could blame a seller? All they've been hearing about for the last year or so is that prices are up, and they've seen their neighbors sell with multiple offers and waiving contingencies and all of those things. And those asking about Jimbo, he is right here. We were up at 2:15 this morning until about 4:30 or so, so he is finally asleep. But anyways, that's what I get to deal with every day. You're a good boy, right, Jimbo? Yeah, you're a good boy. Okay. So again, what we see here is the market is changing, and we are getting the opportunities to evaluate more opportunities. If you're one of my students, you're going to be able to take your spreadsheet that you've built. You're going to be able to put in prices, and as inventory rises, you're going to be able to see which deal is staying on longer, right? Days on market. That's going to show you a seller that might be interested in an offer that makes sense for you and I. Next up, I'd love to hear what markets you're in, just to get the comments going. As you know, if you give some thumbs up, subscribe, and leave comments, let's see if we can't get this particular daily video some extra love and attention. Yesterday was the lowest daily financial show in quite a while, which is kind of funny. These are now routinely hitting 1,500 views, and yesterday was 800, first time under 1,000 in a 24-hour period in quite a while. So just let me know what you think. Thumbs up, comments, areas would be great. I will close this video with a little bit of a rant. I've been thinking about what's going on with this notion of renter nation that some folks are talking about. I want to talk about what it would take to really make a renter nation. I've kind of outlined kind of a 6-step process about how it could happen. I am not calling for it. I am not wishing for it. I hope it doesn't happen. But I do see a path down to see what's going on. So everybody's asking about Jimbo. So hey, 1 second, please. Okay, good boy. Ooh. Yeah, he's tired. He's already back to sleep after that. So anyways. So on to the daily financial news. First and foremost, it looks like the SEC is waking up. Shocking, they were asleep at the wheel last week. They got run over. Now they're out this weekend kind of talking tough, talking like the sheriff's back in town. They put out a couple of things that I thought were interesting because you're not really sure what they're saying, if anything. The first one was, we are going to protect the retail investor from abusive activity. It wasn't clear to me reading that whether they were calling what Robinhood or Webull or whatever these companies did to prevent people from buying is abusive, or they are talking about some of the communications on the Reddit, the subreddit, Wall Street Bets, about people pumping and dumping. It's unclear what they deem abusive. Reading it, my guess is the latter, not the former, because the former was really covered by, we are going to be looking at market manipulation, like what may have happened at Robinhood. That's a clear shot across bow. So it's going to be interesting to see what the SEC does. Every decade or so, they become a interesting arm of the financial markets that wakes up, and we will see what happens. I remember the SEC getting involved in a lot of .com stocks that had no revenue but still had crazy valuations. So we shall see. It is interesting to read more and more this weekend about what happened and what caused Robinhood to sort of say, stop, you can't do it. Apparently, the clearinghouses raised the deposit requirements tenfold on a set of stocks, now up to 50, which meant that Robinhood didn't have the cash available. So they spent a 12-hour period raising $1 billion. So it's pretty interesting. As I was reading the article and realizing that it takes up to 48 hours for trades to kind of be recognized or settled, all I could think about is, man, blockchain, right? We had a crypto hedge fund the other day, and I asked about blockchain first. Now, blockchain's not particularly fast, right? It wouldn't be able to execute sell orders in milliseconds. But blockchain certainly doesn't take 48 hours to settle who was the buyer, who was the seller, who's the new owner. Just interesting to see where this blockchain, this decentralized validation, this removal of a third party might be. So it is going to be interesting to see what goes on here. Next thing I read about is, again, just further validation that we're in a K-shaped recovery. This time talking about the savings rate, dry powder. U.S. households have accumulated 1.6 trillion, that's with a T, in excess savings in the last 10 months. All while stock market is at or near all-time highs. Real estate is up. And, oh, by the way, we have 1.6 trillion in savings. Most of that has been accumulated by the top 40%. So again, the K-shaped recovery, the top 40, the bottom 60. With the top 20, consuming almost 70% of that. So it is interesting to watch. Again, we've talked about this before, but in April of last year, we hit a record 33% savings rate. Interestingly enough, in Q4, so that would be October, November, December, we had a 13.4% savings rate, again, disproportionately to the top end of the K-shape. What I found was interesting was that was a record back to 1975. I have to go back and figure out what was going on in 75. I don't think that was the oil embargo just yet. I think that was later. I was alive in 75, but I wasn't studying the financial markets. I wasn't even in school yet. So it'll be interesting. I need to go figure that out. 13.4% savings rate. Physical silver being halted as of yesterday. Interesting. I have not heard that. That was a comment. I don't know if when you watch on replay you see the comments, but somebody just posted a comment that physical silver has been stopped as of yesterday. Did not hear that. Don't know it. I'm just reading what was posted. Next thing to read about is, sometimes you look at what's going on in the U.S. and you're like, man, we're crazy folks. What's going on? But never forget, if you voice opposition in China, you go to jail. There have been documented cases in the last several months of people with as little as 50 followers on Twitter who choose to voice displeasure with the Chinese government being scooped up and sent to jail. We don't do that here. That is, we have lots of voices, some of them very loud, some of them very wrong, but we, generally speaking, don't put, someone we disagree with immediately in jail just for voicing an opinion. And again, to think a Twitter user with 50 followers gets the attention of a government, that's kind of frightening. That's just talk about frightening. Next up, I'm thinking about one of the ways that the federal government needs to pay for all of this. So, last year we printed 20% of all the U.S. dollars ever, which seems like we're going to do that again and again and again here recently. And as you know, I'm a little nervous about what happens to interest rates in a couple of years. But the other side of that is maybe, just maybe, we create new tax revenue. And again, these tax revenues will hit us all if you choose to partake in these activities. But one of the ways we can get out of this is by raising taxes. And one of the ways is not only raising taxes that exist, but creating new ones. For example, what if the federal government created a cannabis or marijuana tax, right? Federally legalized, all states can do it. Oh, by the way, you got to kick in 2% to good old Uncle Sam. Psh, tax revenues would go through the roof. What about sports betting? Another thing that is now being legalized at a few state levels. What if the federal government said, okay, fine, Uncle, we give up. What if we legalize sports betting? And oh, by the way, we kick in 2% of, I don't know, winnings or bets or whatever it would be. I think those things are coming, whether it's those two or just the idea of new tax revenues. That's one way we can start paying off this debt. We don't only have to raise existing taxes. We can create new taxes and new tax sources. And then the last thing looks like India. India has just provided legislation that says they are going to create their own digital currencies, called digital currency by the Reserve Bank of India, and they're going to outlaw private cryptocurrencies, i.e. Bitcoin. This kind of goes against the basis of crypto as I've learned about it on our, crypto call or hedge fund guy a few days ago. It's the Reserve Bank of India. What's the difference between a crypto or, a digital currency versus a fiat currency, a piece of paper? Nothing. Crypto needs to be decentralized. It needs to be around the world to have value. It can't just be, hey, this is the India coin and that's the Brazil coin and that's the Japan coin. That's not solving the problem. All right. So that's what I got for the news today. I'm going to go on my little rant about how to create a renter nation. Again, you probably have heard Grant Cardone talk about a renter nation. I don't think it's possible. I don't want it. I actually think we go from 67-ish homeowners, and we march towards 70. But I do see a path where that could be reversed. And I do see some of the early signs of dominoes set up that might push us that way. And again, I'm not calling for it. I don't want it. I think it's a horrible idea. It's destructive, blah, blah, blah. But it could happen. So step one to creating a renter nation is you need to restrict the supply of existing and future affordable home, new construction. So this is definitely seen in California, kind of not in my backyard. Affordable homes are created in other parts of the country. But if you create an environment where there is inflation, where building supplies, all of those things, you could see a situation where builders are forced to build ever more expensive housing, and they are discouraged from affordable housing because it is simply not profitable or not profitable enough. Number two, you need to create a reason, a demand, an increased incentive for what I call space is good. Right now, or at least historically speaking, living in an apartment, a condo, hustle bustle of downtown was exciting, was interesting. It has been less so. Look at rent drops in studio apartments in San Francisco, New York, Chicago, Seattle, blah, blah, Portland, down greater than 20%. Some got down 30%. Those people go somewhere. Maybe they go to a bedroom in their parents' house. Who knows? Some of them will be buyers, right? So you are creating space is good. And on top of that, work from home. Kind of what's been going on the last year or so. Then here's the domino that scares me that I think is set up, which I hope doesn't happen. But this one is create a short period of time, think 3 to 5 years, where you artificially incent home ownership at the affordable first-time home owners. Those 3 to 5 years, if you happen to be a homeowner that gets one of the homes, like you actually purchase and move in, you will be, quote unquote, a winner, because what happens is as demand picks up and supply dries up, the winners, kind of like rent control, will see the value in their net worth increase. It will unfortunately only be 10, 15, 20, 25% of the people that wish to participate actually participate. So the greater percentage are, I don't know what else to say, losing, because again, they can't buy at some point, right? They don't get a yes answer from a bank. So again, restrict supply, create a reason for space, work from home, suburbs, create a 3 to 5 year period with incentives like a $15,000 tax credit, artificially low rates. You see where we're going. Number 4, this one is also going on. You create an environment where Wall Street, I say Wall Street because we all think of Wall Street as the rich. It could be hedge funds, it could be rich folks around the country, where they can no longer buy affordable renters as they did back in 2010, 12, 13, whatever. Now they have, since they can't buy them in great enough numbers, they are now buying land and building entire subdivisions of rental homes. These aren't being built on spec to sell. These are being built to rent. So that's the environment we are in, and I think it increases from here, which again is a negative sign in my opinion. Because what happens from there is prices go up. Again, if you happen to be a winner and you own a bunch of affordable homes, you are going to be smiling because your net worth is up. And what will happen after that is rents will follow. So as this goes on, interest rates are going to slowly tick up. I think that slowly ticks up 3, 4, 5 years from now. But with elevating prices and then elevating interest rate, what happens? Payments go up. And eventually payments go up to a level where you no longer get a yes answer from a bank. You still need a house. You want a house, not an apartment, so you rent. And then your rent increases and you no longer can save, and you are just stuck in this loop of being a renter. Not good. So again, lack of supply, create an artificial demand. That's the one that bothers me. The artificial demand. It really feels kind of like what we saw in 05, 06, although it was artificial demand from bad loan structures. This is just another artificial demand. And this artificial demand will drive up prices. Prices driven by also rising interest rates in the future drives down affordability. And even if the loans that exist are solid, because again, the loans today are more solid than 06, 07, you're just going to slowly drive out first-time buyers. And if you happen to be a buyer and win, congrats. If you're not, you're out of the loop, and it'd be tough to get in the owning cycle. So that's what I got for you today. It is, of course, Sunday, so I've already built my goals spreadsheet, my positive impact score. I've built my community slides, and I've also created another private money video. So I'm going to be busy. I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to start recording and post those 3 videos throughout the day, probably 11, 2, and 4, something like that. All right, everybody, take care of yourself. Have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. And remember, January's over. What are you doing to make things better going forward? Take care. Bye.